All right, we're back, and it's COMP397, web game programming, and it's week 12, lesson 12, part 1. I'm not even supposed to be teaching today. This is supposed to be your workshop time, right? However, I know people want me to do bullets and firing and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Spritesheet spaceship that we get from Apple. Just going to borrow this one for today's example, right? Again, we're not making a full game out of this. We're just going to use assets so that way we can kind of determine what it looks like. So I'm going to save this thing. Save image as. It's already a kind of an image that's pre-done. We're going to save it in our downloads. And now that we've got it, we're going to come back here in a second, but now that we've got it, let's check our downloads and see what this thing looks like, this new one, right? So the first thing is, we'll name this as kind of, spaceship. Spaceship. There we are. And we'll open this up in Fireworks. That's what the default is for me. Yours might be something different. And let's see how big this guy is, right? Because the one thing we want to determine is, okay, fine, now that we've got it, while Fireworks decides not to open for me. I love when this stuff happens. It's amazing, right? We've got to determine how big this ship is. We had a problem like this last time in this class. I had to use Illustrator, if I remember right? But it doesn't matter. I can do that too. I can open with Adobe Illustrator, not a problem. If it's not one, the other one will open. I got some weird stuff here. Okay, so here's our spaceship. So if we notice, I'm here in Illustrator, and I want to determine the size of my object. So that's the first thing. Is it too big, right? Like right now, we're sitting at 100%. This is the actual size. That's too big for me. For some people, it might be okay. For me, that's too small, too big. It's far too large, right? So we're going to make this a little bit smaller. That's the first thing. So I'm going to go to Edit. Oh, Fireworks open too. Hey, I was just not patient. Let's just close off AI. I like Fireworks. It's a little bit simpler. Okay, so this one is 394 by 347. We want to put this down into the space of about 65 by 65, just like we did for the other objects. I'm making it small, and I'm modifying it here. Why would I modify it here and not just scale it down in the code?
Because you want to save memory.
I want to save cycles. Every time I scale something, whatever, in my program, it doesn't need to. I want to redo everything properly here and bring it in. That's the right way to do it. Okay, so let's just rescale. So I'm going to kind of scale this down to something that makes more sense to me. So again, I'm going to go down to about, again, I'm pressing Shift here so that way it's proportional editing, right? All right, that's probably the smallest I can get it. 75, let's say, by 65 or 66, something like that. That's our spaceship. If you want to make it larger, you certainly can. Like if you think this is too small for your game, you can step this thing up. But for my game, I'm going to use this size because this size is small. We know what it looks like. It demonstrates what we want it to demonstrate. Okay. So I'm going to just do a modify canvas, and we're going to do trim the canvas to make it really small. This is our spaceship, and we're going to go save. All right. So the first piece is creating this ship, right? The second thing is the question: do we want to create a bullet, right? As an object, or do I draw it? Now there's two approaches. Drawing a small bullet that's a circle and with something that's filled in, it doesn't take a lot. It's not like it's a big deal for the program to do that. But to keep it simple, and that's the only reason why I'm doing this, we're going to find some kind of bullet or whatever that we're going to use. And you know what? I think we have one already that I want to kind of use, and that we have that in the MailPilot library already, right? So I'm going to go courses, and I think I have it here in this old course I used to do, 1050. No, what was it? Intro to graphic programming. I did this old course in Python I was telling you about back in the day, and I'm going to use the bullets, this sheet from the course, right, to kind of come up with some bullets. So here's the sheet from the course. I'm going to zoom in here, and if you notice, I've got some bullets. Right? They're actually okay, these ones. So I'm thinking about using, probably one of these smaller ones. Now there's other bullets here. If you notice, there's like ones that are shaped, and there's a problem with that. Not a problem, it's just more of a challenge to use a shaped bullet, because For it to look right, sorry, just going to zoom in here one more time. For it to look right, the shape has to change. The shape has to change directions. And to keep it simple, you'll see we have to kind of determine which direction it's firing. Now in this particular case, you notice they've already redrawn the shapes so that when it fires in a diagonal direction, this only fires, this original game was only firing in only 8 directions, right? So it was okay. You could fire in 8 directions and it'd be no problem. But in this particular case, we want to only fire up, and I only want to make the bullet simple. So it's going to be either this one or this one. That's my thoughts. So I'm just going to pick one. So let's just pick this one here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom into that area first before I crop it. So we're going to get really pixelated here, but the thing is it helps us when it comes to cropping an image, right? And again, I know that you guys might think I'm nuts right here when I'm doing this. I crop an image based on as large as I can, so I get a handle on what it's going to look like, right? So here's my image. Now I don't need this blue at all, right? So I'm going to kind of take this blue and just erase it, remove it from our screen. So now we only have this piece here. See, I removed the information I don't need when I do my crop, right? Okay, and if you notice now the bullet is 6 by 6. This is good. This is a small object, right? It doesn't have a lot of space. The bullet is square, 6 by 6, and you know I can fire it and it's going to look like this. Okay, so let's get this thing. So now I'm not going to leave this big canvas. That doesn't make sense because that's how big the canvas will be. I'm going to modify canvas. I'll trim canvas and I'll trim the bullet right down to 6 by 6, and I'll save this file as save as. And we'll call this bullet. And we'll put this bullet, of course, in downloads. This is where so we can have both the ship and the bullet in there. There's my downloads. Okay. So I've got my spaceship, I've got my bullet. Now I've got to incorporate it into my my scene again, right? So let's just kill we'll quit fireworks. And let's see if we can go into Mail Pilot in my downloads, and hopefully we have a Mail Pilot in there. And if we don't, by the way, it's okay, because we can go and recreate all this stuff again from scratch. So let's go back over into this. We're going to launch this thing. So how are we going to do this while this is launching? Let's talk. Again, I'm going to make the bullet, in my opinion, it should be the object itself should be an object. The bullet is going to be an object. And it's going to be loaded into the same sprite sheet that everything else is loaded in. I'm going to have a spaceship sprite, and I'm going to also have a bullet sprite, right? The bullet sprite's going to be, we're going to make a bullet class, right? And the bullet class is going to create a new object that I'm going to load into some kind of an array, right? That's what I want to do. Okay, so that's the thing I want to do. So I've kicked this off. Did I erase it? I probably erased it for some reason or other. But that's okay. I don't mind, because you know what? We can always download the version from GitHub, right? I don't know why I would have erased it, but hey, you know what? It happens. So we'll start from scratch this way too, so it'll give you an opportunity to understand where we are. I can always, I mean, I have a couple of things here in my atlas and everything else, but I also know that I have it saved here in our example. So I'm going to pull up our examples and I think I have it under COMP397 Mail Pilot. That's the one I'm going to go to. That's the one I was working on last time, right? And if it's here, it's here. If it's not, it'll be on the other side. Bear with me while I open her up so we can start work. Again, not a big deal if it's not. We'll just have to download it. Here it is. And there we go. Okay, so let's see what we got here from last day, because this a lot of times we're going to have this stuff in. We have something called Avatar. Remember we made Avatar and we made level 2, right? And level 2 called upon a couple things. Let me just scroll down. We're adding an avatar, and the avatar is called a girl, right? We're not going to use girl as an avatar, right? We're going to still use avatar, the object's avatar, right? That has 8 directional movement. We're not going to change that, or we can move around anywhere. I'm not going to modify that. That makes no sense for me to recreate the wheel on there, right? But what I want to do is change it from girl. I want to change it into something else, right? So that's the thing I'm going to do. So that's one. The other thing is that I have to take a look at my assets, because in my assets class and my images, I have all this stuff, right? So I'm going to kind of take this folder, and I'm going to add to it. I'm going to add those two things, and I have a new JSON and ping file that I'm going to take and rename, and I'll redo this whole thing again, right? So that's the one thing I need to do. I have to update my, step one is to update my assets and all that stuff. All right, so let's go back in here, and I know that I have my assets in here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my assets folder, my images, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back into downloads, and I'm going to paste it. Yeah, I'll paste it in here somewhere. Images. There we go. So now when I go back over on the Mac side, in my downloads, I don't just have assets. My assets. I also have my images. Oh, I also have level 2. That's probably what it was. So let's go in there. I'm going to put my bullet image in there, and I'm also going to go and put in my spaceship image. This is my spaceship image in my images. And I have a couple of things here. I have my Atlas JSON file as well as the other things I was playing. I may have not saved my mail pilot thing in here, but that's okay because I have everything I need in here, right? And I also have my girl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll do that again, and I'll show you how to do that in Texture Packer. And for those people who downloaded and installed Texture Packer, which I think still is an awesome program. So here's Texture Packer, and I'm going to choose Create.js or Easel.js, this one, right? And I'm going to kind of create a new project. And in here, what I want to do is I want to drag and drop all this stuff, my bullet, my cloud, all this stuff in there, right? And for now, I'll just grab everything, and I'll take stuff out that I don't want. Like for example, I don't want my thumbnails. I don't want that. My play button, my spaceship is good. My try again button, but you know what? My ocean, no good. I don't want that in there. I got my girl and my bullet, and my cloud. So let's just drag and drop this whole list of stuff. All right, that's cool. That's a good start. I've got my girl in there, but now what I want to do, just to see how it goes, I should have, if you notice, the sequence here is all messed up, right? We had this problem last time when we did the little girl running, right? So how do I take care of that in terms of the way it's been organized? Well, if you scroll down over here, right, you can arrange it so that it goes by name, right? And that's what we want to look for. We want to look for a way of packing this thing so that it is it detects the name of the sprite as opposed to you know how it's default packing, right? So that's the first. So it says first force word aligned. So let's click that, right? So if I go from 1 to 2, that's way over here. 2's got to be somewhere over on the other side, right? Size constraints, I can go power of 2 or any size. I can force squared, right, which makes my game, my thing square, which is what I did last time, right? So that's one of the things I did. And again, I can force a certain size of my sprite sheet. This is just a sprite sheet that allows me to use my stuff. Shape padding, I can put that in there. Heuristic mask, I can reduce my border artifacts. I can do that, right? It says I want to put shape outlines. It shows me what the shape outlines look like. These are just additional features, right? That you know, common things that we want to kind of put in there. Trim mode. It says crop or flush. There's also none. If I don't want to trim anything, I can leave it as is. And sometimes we want to leave it as is because we want to keep the sprites separated, right? So if you notice, they're just separated like this. Same thing, right? The only thing that we're doing is we're just separating the sprites, right, so that it's in order, right? That's one thing I want to do. We could put that in there. You know, we could put a shape outline or whatever, or keep the same space. If I put trim mode none, that's one thing I could do. What else is there? Algorithm is max, rex, or basic. If I go basic, again, it gives me into this mode where, if you notice now, things are in order, right? So it's packing it basic in a basic mode, right? It doesn't really matter. Remember, all we care about is that it keeps track of where everything is on our screen, right? That's important. Okay, so it looks like we've done everything we can do. Force squared, force word aligned, all this kind of stuff. We're not going to scale it. Scaling allows us to change how we put everything in there as well. We can also sort by name, which is very important as well. So if I want to sort by name, I want to make sure that when we store everything, we sort by name, so that way everything is in order, right? Not like last time. Last time we had a mess, right? So we don't want that. And look how it does that. Look at 5, 6, 7, right? It makes sense now that it's going to be like that, because otherwise before when we were doing the girl animation, it was messed. Okay, so let's do that. So now we're going to export. I'm going to publish my Spritesheet, right? It's going to ask me where it's going to be. And I'm going to go back into that downloads folder. I'm going to go into images. And inside here is where I want to put it. And of course I want to call it Atlas. And save. And it says, you want to replace it? And absolutely I do. And do I want to replace everything else? And it says, if you notice, it goes into my downloads images atlas.ping, right? So now I've got everything. Let's check to see that this is all good, because I don't want it to be all messed up like last time. So how do I check that? Well, I got to go into my downloads, and here's my atlas.json file. I'm going to open this up with, let's use Text Wrangler for this time. Text Wrangler is just a text program. Okay, well this is good. Look at this. So here's my cloud. Here's my girl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now she's in order, right? She's not all messed up and out of order. This is good, but it's also bad, because now all this is messed up. I got to do all that kind of stuff again when I bring it in. That's fine. So let's put it back. All right. So let's bring all this back into my code, and of course it's in here. And just to make sure that we've got everything as is, the only thing we need to put that we've changed, we haven't changed anything else. When we pulled this back in here. But I definitely want to pull these two things in there, because my Atlas and my JSON file have to be pulled in there. So these two things, right? So let's pull those things into my images folder. We'll say yes to those. And the other thing I've just got new is my bullet. That's my bullet bitmap. And that's kind of bad, but it's okay, because the great thing is my bullet is only so small, kind of 6 by 6. There's my images. And I also included in there my spaceship. Right, here's my spaceship right here. Here's my ping file. I'll put that in there too. Okay, good. So I've got all the stuff I need to make this thing go. And a bullet's going to be kind of square. Now thinking about it as a bitmap, that's something I didn't anticipate. Let's go back over here and just make sure what it looks like when I pull it up. That's how small it's going to look. It's very hard to see that there's a problem, but I know that there is. Let's go back into my Adobe CS6 for a second. Fireworks. And we'll bring, when Fireworks comes up, we'll see that there's bound to be an issue. By the way, we'll save Texture Packer here as well. Save project, just because I like to do that. And instead of level 2, we'll save it out at on courses, or sorry, downloads and images. And we'll just call this, ship. My ship project. There we go. All right. So again, what we did last time, we opened it up in Illustrator, and then the other one opened. Or we could just wait. How about them apples? Here it is. So my bullet's really small. This is how small it is, 6 by 6. You can hardly see it in this view. But let's look at the side of this and see what it really looks like. So we're going to keep moving up. If you notice, the corners are white, right? This is bad. Right? Corners shouldn't be white. The corners should be transparent. Otherwise, it'll look like a square, right? So this is my issue. So I forgot to do that. So I'm just going to kill these corners by just removing the information, right? And I'm going to file, save as. We'll do this one more time. We'll make this into a ping image. That's one thing I forgot to do. And save. Now we're going to have to repack everything. That's no problem, because I already have saved everything right from before. So I'm going to go back into, I've got two bullets, my bitmap and my ping image. You can already see that my ping image is different. I'm going to bring this ship.tps up. Here it is. And I'm going to get rid of my bullet, so I can erase stuff that I don't want in, and I can drag and drop stuff. My bullet.ping file is what I want now, and that's going to be added in here too, right? There it is. So now I'm going to repack everything. So I'm going to go here and publish my Spritesheet, and it gets republished, which means that when I go back into on this side, I got to do the same thing, right? I got to repack those two things, because now the Atlas and the ping image are going to be slightly different. You see what I'm doing, right? I'm showing this for a couple of reasons. One, if you make a mistake like I did, that's okay, right? It's easily correctable, but you want to catch it as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have issues. Okay, we've got our bullet, and we've got everything now, but we got to adjust our assets. So I'm just going to kind of close these down just for a second and go into my assets, and I need to change the map that this looks like right now, so we see what we see on the. I'm going to open this up here in brackets, and here it is. There's a new release. Get it now. Not right now. Thanks. But we do see that everything's the same except for all these things. These are all changed. So I'm going to kind of grab all this. So grab this. So I'm going to go cut. And for now, and we're just going to paste it in here. Right? There we go. And we've got our animations. This is going to be all different. And remember this plane animation. I'm not going to kill this because I want to use this as a guide. So I don't want to redo that plane animation. And I don't want to redo the girl animation either, this walk frame stuff, right? But that's what we need. We need frames and speed, right? That's what we're going to need. So I'll just replace everything. I know what to do. So let's go back down in here. And this is the new setup. My bullet is 0, right? As an example, my animations are right here. And I have everything, including my try again button. It's all packed by name this time. A little bit different than last time, as you can see, right? So just going to kind of put it in there and paste. Right? Looks good. But now we have girl 01 to girl 14. We don't need that, right? Remember, we have 2 steps. We have one that's called idle, right? And we have another one, because we're going to make her walk again, just to clean that piece up. So I'm going to make a new object called idle. And remember, let's see what idle is. Is it the last one or the first one? I don't know. I can't remember. Well, you can see that this one would be the idle one. That's girl 1. Right? So girl 1 is going to be the idle one. So we're going to say idle then is the first one. So that's girl 1, which is 2. Right? So we're going to get rid of girl 1. This one here is gone. We're going to make this from girl 2. We're going to make this just a girl, right? And we need an animation sequence. So there's going to be, we're going to make some brackets, right? Like this. I'm going to frame it up. And we're going to say 1 is frames. That's what we need here in this particular thing. Frames, whatever the frames is, plus our speed, the animation speed. What's that going to be, right? So we're going to, our speed is whatever it is, right? So let's say our speed is 5 or 10, or in this particular case is 15, something like that. We'll check out 15, see if that's too fast. Now you might say that 15 is too much. We're saying maybe it's a speed of 0.5. That's what it is. Speed is 0.5, right? But it's not just 3, right? It's from 3. Our girl animation is from 3 to 15. So now we can do one of these, 3, 15, right? And let's see what that does. Do we have to put all of our frames in there, or just mention that it's from 3 to 15? Is it? 2 is idle. Right. Yeah, I may want to put 2 in there as well, right? But 3 it's really from 3 to 15 from our girl animation, right? That's the walking one. When we play a girl or walk or whatever it's going to be called, that's what it is. If I want to make it so the girl is this one and this is our walk animation, that's okay too. Right? We can do that. This is our walk animation because we don't have a walk animation for anything else. But we can get rid of all this for now. We'll go back to fix that in a second. Okay, here's our, and again, you could put something like this if you want to. You could put something like idle, right, plus 3 to 15. Or, girl instead of idle. Girl plus 3 to 15. Right? You put that in there as well if you want to. Okay, we have an instructions button or island. We also have our plane. There's plane and then 1, 2, 3. Oh man, we put in an extra sprite we don't need. Right? That's a problem. We don't need this one. Even though we got it in there, we don't need to use it. We want to do the same thing that we did last time with our plane. Just remember, just as a recap, here's our plane. And we're going to do the same thing that we just did with our girl, right, for our animation. Right? And we're going to say frames. That's our first object. And then speed. Remember, for our plane, our speed was really low, like 0.2 or something crazy like that. Okay? And we're going to get rid of these. So we need 19, 20, and 21. That's our animation for our plane. 19, 20, and 21. Now if you notice, I made a range here. 3 to girl and then 3 to 15. Let's see if that really works. And we'll see what the difference is compared to what we did last time. I also have my spaceship. Hey, this is my spaceship, man. And I have my bullet up here. So this is the stuff I need to get going on this stuff. Okay, the rest is the same. This doesn't matter. This is just a map of our frames. Let's run and see what we have as is with no changes, first of all. So let's run this. So it's going to go to our animation. There's my plane. You see the animations on the plane is okay. Let's refresh this thing just to make sure that I'm good. There it is. I'm going to play the game, and now I have my girl, right? And she turns into a bullet, right? Really quickly, right? Which is not what we want. We have our girl, and she turns into a bullet. How come she turns into a bullet? That's neat, because that's not what I really wanted. How come it's a bullet? Because, and I'm just going to refresh this so you understand what we did wrong, right? If we did things correctly, and bullet 01, bullet 0, right? How is it that the girl is going from, our walk is from 3 to 15, right? Let's see what we did in our code, right? That's the other thing we have to figure out. Like we have a girl animation and a walk animation, but we're hitting our bullet because we don't know what to do. That's what's happening, right? So we'll stop debugging and go back into our code to find out what the avatar is doing now. So here's our avatar, right? And if you remember what we did with her, on control up we went key left and so on, and then here's our control actions for walk, right? Go to and stop and do a walk animation, right? And then that's what we're doing. We're saying play the walk animation when everything fails, right? So, okay, here's my walk animation, and I go and try to play girl by having to find her. So she tries to find out what to do, and then we end up doing the bullet when we walk. So we don't want this like this. What we want to do is define an animation sequence from 2, right, like you said, all the way to 15, and then see what that does, and see if that fixes our problem. That's the first thing we've got to kind of figure out. Get rid of this quotation mark, which is causing us an issue. Let's save that and try that again. So I'm going to rerun this thing. 2 to 15 is speed of 5.5. Refresh everything, go back and play the game, and now when I press left and right, I have this up and down thing. Look at up and down, right? But when I press left and right, I got nothing. How come? So it doesn't even switch directions. If I go left and right, she doesn't go to and play anything. That's because of our avatar, the way we made her. We said go to and stop at the walk sequence. And that's not what we want. We want to go to and play the walk sequence. Go to and play. Right, so we start playing the walk sequence, and when we finish, when we change direction and we stop pushing the buttons, we go back to normal again, which we will in a second. Let's refresh. So now when I press now it still does the same thing. Did I not do everything correctly? So we want to make her actually walk, right? So go to and play walk. We do this scales. This is good. This is working. And this is my walk sequence, right? And when I look at the girl, right, all she does is one thing. This is a bad thing because she's not doing what we're asking her to do. So let's take a look at our code to debug a little bit, right? So again, we have our control down just like last time. And if you notice, when we switch our key codes, so if I press the A or the D key, it can turn. I can configure my turn right is equal to true. I can check that that's happening, right? And the same thing with my on control up. When I'm pressing this key, my turn left is equal to false. Now, we haven't used those yet, but we will. So here's my control action. So if my control left is true, right? Then once this is true, I'm going to put in walk, go to and walk, right? But I'm going to go to and walk on a scale of -1, and it's never going to turn the other way, right? So I have to check to see if I'm already turned, and if I'm already turned, I'm going to rescale myself back to normal, right? Like multiply myself, rescale back to the scale.x is equal to 1, not equal to -1, right? So whenever I go right, then, right, let's just fix that big one, my scale.x is equal to 1. Now, if I've already done a scale of -1, do I have to say that my scale is -1 again? Let's see how that works. So I want to kind of reset everything back to normal. So first of all, I want that to happen. Let's see if we can do that. And my go to and play my walk sequence is not working. It's going to one thing and it's stopping. There is no play sequence because for a couple things. We're assuming that I'm going to go from 2 to 15, but it's not going to 2 to 15. And like I said to you before, you have to control your frames. So you're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the frames, all in order, right? There we go. Now we've listed them all. Now we're going to control the frames from 2 to 15, right? And we're going to speed of 0.5. Okay, good. So let's try. We've made a couple of changes in here. One of them we made to our avatar, so it walks, and this one rescales it back to normal. Let's see if that even works. And then let's refresh that. Here's my walk, and if I go this way, she runs, and if I go this way, she runs that way, and if I go this way, she runs that way. See? So now it's a better sequence. So you can see that she's bouncing a little bit there. There's a bit of a repeat, but she's walking pretty good, right? And so that's not so bad. And again, there's a bit of a jump because of the way she's coming back to normal. We have to figure that out, right? But now you at least can go left and right with the girl. So when I'm pulling up my hand though, when I'm not running, right? I want my girl to stop moving. I want my girl to stop with this hanky-panky business of walking. I want her to stop walking. How do I do that? Just to finish off this little thing here, right? She's just going to animate forever, it looks like. We don't want that. Well, here's my control action. So if this is turn left, this is good. Here's forward movement and reverse movement. We haven't done any of this. And this is if my command, my config forward, right? My forward is false, then my speed is 0, right? And if my config is false, then my speed is 0. This is my stop. I want to stop. But I want to do the same thing if my control action, right? If it's not moving, right? So if my if this is wrong, if this is false, right? Remember, I have two key codes. One when I'm pressing down the button, left and right, and one when I'm not pressing the button, when I'm not turning left. When my turn left is off, and I'm checking to see if my turn left is true. What if it's false? So if it's false, then, right, here's my new statement for the girl, right? I want to this go to and play, and I want to play girl again, right? Make sense? And the same thing goes with this, right? So if the other way around, she's scaled, but she's going to go. I'm going to go to and play her again. So there's not going to be the walk. The walk is going to stop. So if I'm not turning left or turning right, if it's false, right? If I have taken my hand off the trigger, kind of thing, right? Then it should stop. Let's fix this one, and then we'll move on to the spaceship. All right. So refresh. Make sure we're refreshing. Go back and play the game. So I'm walking, and now what's happening is she's turning, but she's not moving, right? So this is good and bad. It means that, right, I'm resetting her so quickly, right? That's what's happening, that it is detecting. It is saying it's false, right? But did I even say false? I said else. That's all I said, else. Anything else? In any other case, then do this. That's not what I want either. What I got to say is else if, right? The other option, config dot turn left, right, is equal to false. Only then do this, right? And the same thing goes with this thing, else if, right? The else if is the one I want to use, right? So more of a condition statement that limits me. Turn right. This is turn right, right? So if I check the other way, turn right is equal to false, right? Then, only then, go to and play the girl. Otherwise, you're going to do whatever you did before. Let it go. All right, let's refresh that one. Let's see what happens now. If we can fix this problem. So if I go this way, now I should just wait. I didn't refresh. Okay, same issue. So it's not, it changes, she changed direction. Hello, hello, hello. Right? She goes up, she can go up and down, no problem, because all I'm doing is moving forward and back. Right? But she's not running anymore. Right? Because it says my config turn left is equal to false. Right? This my config turn left. Otherwise, you know, if I'm pressing it is true, otherwise it's false. It doesn't work because of the way I've configured my situation here. So here's my config turn right, here's my config turn left, and this happens. I'm checking this all the time. I'm saying if my on control up, if I put my keyboard, my hand off the key, right, as an example, then these two things are going to be true all the time, right? So you know what's happening is here it's true, here it's false. So the thing to do is to kind of determine whether the condition is true or not, right? So I'm going to go console.log just to do a little bit of troubleshooting, and let's say true. So we'll say true left. So it's true if I've pressed left, true left, right? And then I'm going to say console.log, right, false left. So I know what it is, just so I know which one I pressed and which one I didn't. I'm stopping to press. And I got to be careful here, right? Because these are the two things that I'm checking both conditions. So both conditions have to be true, or can be true for it to go to and play the girl, right? So again, let's consider this logic here that I'm using. And I already know what the problem is. I can tell you what it is, right? And here's my console.log, but I got to show you console.log, right? True for right, and then console.log false for right. Let's see this. So I'm just troubleshooting here, trying to figure out what's going on, and then let's refresh and see what we get with our play the game now. Let's refresh one more time. We played, and when I go into my developer tools, right, look what's happening. I got false left, false right, false left, false right. Both they keep going forever and ever. Look, they're going to keep going forever and ever and ever. It's not what I want. That's why even if I press this, right, and I'm up here, I did the wrong thing. But if I press this, see how it's you know, true right if I press it down, but false left. So what's happening? Well, there's conflicting commands, right? That's what's happening. That's what my fear was. So this is going to be true. So I check this one first, right? And then if it's not this, then it's this. If I do press this, but this is still firing. So either way, I only play the girl, ever. So now, the thing to check is, if one or the other is true, if my config turn left or my config turn right is equal to true, then, right, I'm going to make a different sequence of events. That's the way to check. So I got to check either or. If either or is true, then do this. If it's false, right, if either or is false, right, if both are false, I'm not pressing anything, then press the girl. So how do I do that? So it's a top-level nested if statement, right? So I do this, if config.turnLeft, right? Now what's the or? Remember what the or is? Double pipe. If config.turnRight, this is just regular stuff. Double pipe is the same thing that you would see in C#, right? It's either one or the other, right? So if either one of these conditions is true, right? If this is true or this is true, then do one of these, right? Okay, so now I got to contain it. So here's what I'm going to do. This is where my code block is going to be in here. And I want to put it so that instead of these else statements, let's just get rid of this else stuff. So I don't need this anymore. And I'm not going to need, only going to need one of these. Right, so I'm going to need one of these here. That's going to go, I'm going to frame it for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Here, else, and it won't be an else if, by the way, it'll just be an else now. So else, everything else, whatever it is, I don't care. My girl is going to be, you know, she's going to be, I'm going to play the girl, right? If it's not, one of these isn't true, then it's going to play the girl. Now this isn't good for up, by the way, or down, right? That's not true, and I got to think about that too if I was going to make this sequence work. So here's my turn left and turn right. I still need these two things, right? But either way, I'm going to play go to and play walk. Okay, so now I can reconfigure, I can refactor this thing. I'm going to say, well, if this is true, then one of these two things, then make the girl walk, right? However, if it's a turn left, I'm going to put this in here, right? Then scale to the left, right? If it's a turn to the right, so we don't need this anymore. If it's a turn to the right, then scale the other way. Execute a right turn. So we're going to put this in here and then take out this because we've already done that one time. We don't care. Once she's walking the whole time if it's in here. We're just going to rescale her to the right or left. So that's the new code, right? So let's see if that works. Now we don't care about forward or reverse right now. All we care about is left and right for the girl. Let's try this out and see how she works. Again, it's a bit of logic in your head. How do I compartmentalize this? But it's important for you to make that distinction. Okay, good. So now if I walk to the right or left, it's still not working. So make sure that this is good. And what's the condition? What's happening now? How come it's either one or the other? Either one or the other I'm checking for. If it's either one or the other, then play my animation. Otherwise, you know, make sure it's the other way around. So either one or the other, it's going to play the go to and walk sequence, right? Go to and play walk. It's going to scale her the other way. Let's just do this, just to check it to see if I'm right the first time. So this, if it's my logic and not my code up here, right? So let's just try this out and make sure that I've saved everything I have, and we'll just refresh. So now if I press it right or left, it works, but she doesn't stop, right? So she works, no problem, and she actually reverses nicely. So that same piece of code takes care of this. We just got to make sure that if it's stopped, right? If my config turn left is false, right, and my config turn right is false, that's the thing I got to check. If both those things are true, then she plays the animation. Only if both those things are true, not just either one, right? So I can check that. I can do the same kind of command, right, and kind of copy this out and put it here, right, as an if, another else if, right, and we'll put an and statement in here, right. We could put not turn left, or just to make it simple for you guys, is equal to false. If both of them are equal to false, which it would be the case if I don't touch anything, then and only then, right, do I want to make sure that this thing fires, which is this go to and play the girl. Otherwise, you know, once I've initiated her walk, she's going to keep walking as long as I press the button. Let's try that piece of little logic. Again, what I'm trying to do is isolate the fact that when I got the girl running or walking, she's walking and she's going to stop when I press the button. So now it's either one or the other, right? But still not quite working the way I want it to. Why? Because it says if this condition, both these conditions are true, then stop playing the girl, right? And the thing is, both of them have to be true, right? That turn left is false and turn right is false. Well, and the way I'm just letting you guys know this. Here's the thing. I also have these other keys, right? That's causing my issue. Look. So I'm also checking key A. I'm not just checking my ASW, right? If either one of these is true, case config A, right? If I press this button, right, then it's turned false. If I pull up the button. So if my keyboard up is my key A, which is I'm using my ASDW keys, then this is true. But I'm also checking, if I want to check my other one, which is my arrow keys, that's what I'm doing here with my key left and key right. That's the problem. So let's just get rid of this to make it simple. So we're only going to use ASDW and get rid of these keys for a second because it's always going to make these things fire because the other ones are up too. If I wanted to make them special, I'd have to redo this turn left, turn right stuff over and over again. For now, we're just going to make it so it's just ADWS. Right, key up, and that's going to be my issue. So if I've worked hard for nothing, right? Let's just check this out. Well, this is part of troubleshooting to figure out what the hell the problem is, right? All right, let's kill her too. Run it, and now She doesn't work, but we're going to make sure she does. Okay, so that's good. At least we've isolated that. So it's not a key issue. It's the next stage that I'm going to. So again, key ADWS, reverse forward, left and right, reverse forward. This is good. I'm checking to see which keys are going to do it, right? Where my turn left and turn right are both false. They're equal to false. Here I'm checking to see if this is true. If both are true, then I make it go, right? Either or, right? Both have to be false. They have to be false in order for me to do this. Both have to be false. So now we go into a bit of more troubleshooting. So I'm walking and now I'm not walking, right? So let's see if this is true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable this for a second, but just to make sure that it works, I'm going to go console.log true, and let's see how often it's true, right? And we're going to do a console.log up here to check to see if it's false inside here. Because my execute left turn actually is, this comment is incorrect. It's actually right here. So I'm only going to walk when my turn left and turn right, either one of these is true, right? Okay, let's just do in here. So when I'm in here, I want to do one of these. Oops. I want to do a console.log, again, false. So this will be the I'm not walking, right? So let's see how often it's true that condition works out. Because this is the problem. We want to try and troubleshoot what's going on. But this is good. This is the way you have to do it when it comes to walking. And the reason why is because I'm using hardware kind of detection to kind of detect what I'm doing. So when I have my key up, it stops the girl from moving right or whatever. And that's the challenge, trying to stop the animation and start it. Okay, so here I am. So let's look at my log for a second. And as we can see, if I go to my JavaScript console, I should see a bunch of trues and true, right? So it's true, she stopped, right? Now if I press to the right, right? Oh, sorry, if I press to the right, there's a bunch of falses, right? So it's true, it's false a bunch of times. Okay, now she's running. Now here's the trouble. See what just happened? I pressed it down, I held it down, and I got to hold it down for her to stop walking. Look, this is the exact opposite of what I want. So either one, she's going to continue to run, right? If I hold it down, but only when I hold it down does she stop. And it's the other way around. So this is something else. So it's true. So when it's true, she's going to continue to run. Let me refresh that so you see the problem. So we're close, right? So here I'm walking. It's true. When it was false, right? Nothing was happening. I didn't change anything. Because why? Because I originally played the girl animation in the first place, right? Okay, now it's true, right? So if it's true, right now, how come she's still playing the walk sequence if it's true? But when I press down on it, so one or the other, right? When it's one or the other is true. Let me just go back here. Let me show you something here. Right, it's one or the other, right? So right now it says true, which means we're in here. Both of these are false for this to be true, right? But if I press the button, right, and I'm holding it down, it's false because one of those two things is right. I'm pressing the button. Either one of those buttons being pressed, right? I'm going to go in there. Okay. Let me show you. Logic, my friends, logic. I'm saying that I'm going to play the walk sequence, right, when one of these things is true. Go to and play walk. What's my walk? My walk is this, from frames 2 to frames 15. As long as I'm pressing the button, right, and if I keep pressing the button, what am I doing? I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to go back to my walk sequence, which is starting off at frame 2. As long as I'm pressing the button, it's going to kick off that play. But what if I'm already running? It's going to still go back to frame 2. Every time I'm holding down the button, it's going to keep holding down frame 2. So the whole time it was working, but what's happening is it's still sitting at this frame because it keeps on go to and play this. So I got to detect if I'm pressing the button and I've already pressed the button and I'm already running, I got to have a state for the girl to say if I'm running or not. If I'm already running, no matter how long I press my button, as an example, so as long as I'm holding down my button, I'm running, I go to and play once, right? One time, and I don't repeat it. And that's the challenge. How do I stop it? When this thing plays, I want it to play to the whole sequence, and then when I press the button up, as an example, I want it to stop. But even when I'm pressing the button down, I don't want it to go to and play anything. I don't want to keep go to and play anything until my state is changed. Only when I press the button down, if I change positions, if there's been a change, then and only then, right, do I do that. So there's a bit more logic I got to put in here. What I'm saying is, this is always going to be true, right? Either one or the other, right? And when I do that, I'm just going to take these falses out so you see what I'm talking about. When I say go to and play, what go to and play does is it starts from the beginning again. It starts from frame 2, right? So as long as I press the button, it's going to go to and stay on frame 2 forever and ever. So I'm always pressing the button. So the truth is, I am pressing the button. So therefore, it's going to go to and play the walk sequence, right? So I'm running. But if I'm already running, if my walk sequence is already kicked off, right? I should have a detection to see if it's kicked off. Then I don't want to play the walk sequence unless my walk sequence is complete. So I need a little event listener to detect to see if my animation is completed, and only then do I kick off, go to, and play again. I don't know if you understand what I mean. You probably don't. But let's just see what I'm talking about here. So what I want to do is go to easel.js. I want to find my documentation for easel.js again, right? So here's my documentation. And if I go through here, right, and I look at my animation sequence, now this is important to understand this piece because otherwise, troubleshooting for this stuff is hard, right? So here's my my sprite, right? And my sprite has certain things it can do. Like for example, I can go to and stop, right? Go to and stop. So go to and stop means, and again, it means different things. If I click on go to and stop, it says sets pause to true and seeks to the specified animation name, name frame, or a frame number, right? The frame number or animation name that the playhead should move to and stop. So it's going to move that animation head to that frame, and it's going to stop, right? If I go to and play, it says set pause to false. This is set pause to true, so I'm paused. This sets pause to false, and plays the specified animation name, framed, or frame number. The frame number or animation name that the playhead should move to and begin playing. That's what it does. So it starts playing there. Okay. So now I know that my paused, there's a state that says paused. All right, so I need to know that. That's one thing I need to understand. Okay. It's different states. So here's my display object. My display object, add event learner click, and if I do that, it is an example, and then my function is my event handler. This is not what I want for my method. I want to go back to that example for my sprite class. Here it is. So my sprite class itself has different methods. Let's look at the methods. It has a play, right? We tried that before and it failed, right? We have a go to and play and a go to and stop, right? We have a hit test. By the way, don't use hit test like I told you before. It can be very bad. We have a stop. We had a set transform and a toString and all this other stuff that we have. So which one of these methods, right, can we use? There's also events, added, animation end, change, click, double click, mouse over, and roll out and all this kind of stuff. Animation end is kind of interesting because it says when animation end, right, then, the other one is they have some properties, current animation frame, current frame, and that's something we can check too to say if the current frame is not 2, right? Then don't play, don't stop them, right? Like don't redo the animation, don't reset the animation if the current frame is not 2. Play out until the current frame is 2, and then restart the animation. So we could check that, right? So how do I check current frame? So if you notice, current frame is a property, and this is the frame index that will be drawn when a draw is called. Note that when the Spritesheet definitions, this will advance non-sequentially. this will always be an integer value. So whatever the current frame is. Okay, let's detect the current frame. That might help us out. So if the current frame is not 2, right? It's not the idle animation, then don't reset. Let it play the animation, right? If it's the idle animation, kick it off again. So first of all, we have to detect what the current frame is. How do I do that? Well, we're going to do one of these. We're going to say, before we come into this whole control action sequence, what is the current frame? So let's see if we can play this. So I'm going to say console.log, and let's see if I can do this at all. This dot current animation frame. Look, current animation frame. Okay. So I want to see what that is. What am I getting first, right? So I want to print it out. Now it should be the same one all the time, right? Except when I'm running. Let's see if that changes at all. So this is some good troubleshooting again. We'll go to here, and we'll go to more tools and JavaScript console, and we'll play. Okay, so current animation frame is 0. Right? Now what if I go like this? Look what's happening to the animation frame. So it started off at 0, oddly enough. If you notice now that's 0, and this is 0, so it's starting off 0, meaning that and it goes to 1.5, which means each frame, it's not going to launch each frame per frame, it's going to go each one separately. So if you notice, if I scroll up here as I'm holding things down, it goes from 11.5 to 12, and so on, which means the way the animation frames are working is 0 is actually our first frame in our animation sequence, which is our frame 2. Not the current frame globally, but the current frame in our little animation from 0 to 14 or whatever the hell it is, right? So we're going to say if the current animation frame is not 0, right? If it's 0, then do this, then go to and play. If it's not 0, let it do what it's going to do, right? Let's check that out first. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm doing, but let's see what I'm saying. So here's go to and play walk. The only way it's going to go to and play the walk sequence is if my this dot current animation frame, right, is equal to 0. That's the only time that it's going to redo the animation walk sequence, right? Otherwise, don't. It's not going to play this again. So if my current animation frame is equal to 0, let's see if that works. Kill some of these because we're going to go crazy. Okay, so now, look, I walk, right? When I'm holding it, it's not walking anymore. Got back to that problem again. Look. So what's my current animation frame? But I know that, right? If I walk right or left, it's good, right? But see how it doesn't do it right away, right? It only goes when I'm on my animation frame 0. Well, you know the thing is, it's going to go to animation frame 0 at some point. That's not a solution either, right? So when it goes to animation frame 0, right, it's going to get there. So that's not cool. I'm not even there. It's not going to do it. It's going to reset the frames unless it goes to animation frame 0. So I don't want that. I want to reset the frames when it goes to animation frame, whatever the last frame is of the animation, right? Now I know, going back and checking, this is the right idea, but it's the wrong number, right? So I'm looking at 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 15, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So only when my animation frame is 13, so 0, 1, 2, 3, yeah, plus 15 minus 2 is 13. Only when it reaches 13, then reset. And don't do it until it does, right? Reset the animation back to this, right? So it's going to reset it, and when it goes here, it's going to reset it again. Go to and play. So it's going to keep doing the animation over and over and over again. When it's animation frame 13 in this particular case. Okay, let's check that out, see if that works. So when my animation frame is 13, then do the walk sequence. Okay, well that's kind of weird because that means I'll never play the animation sequence once. I'll never play the animation sequence once because the only way I'm going to play the animation sequence is if it's 13. Make sense? So that's a problem too, right? So if I'm only going to play it again when it's 13, when it's at the end of the animation sequence, but I won't play it for the first time when I press the button. right? So I got to make it so that it plays go-tos and plays, right? If it's the first time, if it's not walking, right? If the animation sequence is 0, as an example, then I want to go to and play, right? One time. If the animation thing is 0, right? Only if the animation frame is 0. Else, if the animation frame is 13, then go to and play. So if it's 0 at the beginning, or it's 13, okay? So if this is 0, the beginning, this dot current frame, current animation frame is equal to 0, right? Or double pipe, this current animation frame is equal to 13, either one or the other condition, right? Then go to and play. Now, okay, follow me here. This is going to be a double problem, but we'll see how it works out. So first time, and then finally we'll wait till the last time. Right? And we can also set up so it's playing. We can also set the girl so we know if she's running or not. That's another way we can do it. So you can see it work one time and then it won't work again. Watch. See how it stopped? Keeps running. What if I do this? Right? She'll run for the whole animation sequence, but then she'll stop eventually. And the reason why, and by the way, I'm pressing the button, right? So it's working. So 0, 1, or 13 is working. If I let it go, it's going to keep going, right? Because of the way it's working. But it's not quite what we want. But you see we're getting closer and closer to controlling the girl. Okay. Let's take a short break. I think we've done what we can do with the girl. And when we come back, I'm going to stop doing this thing. You can see how we're getting closer to the solution, right? We're going to stop doing this girl animation thing because I'm tired of it, and I'm sure you are too, right? Let's get into doing the spaceship and bullets, all right?